So, boys, what is up? Welcome to my humble abode. I've got a new setup today. We are on the old lappy, on the laptop. Let's see if I can position this in a place that looks interesting and fun and cool. Maybe not. Well, let's get straight into it. I'll put it on my lap. So, the live today, the topic of today's live is single life, free agent lifestyle versus relationship life versus getting shacked up with somebody versus making something, creating together. So I was thinking about this in recent weeks or recent days. Like, what is the best option for guys in 2025? And I actually think the picture has changed quite a lot from, let's say, 10, 12 years ago. The pattern seems to be different from 10, 12 years ago. Back, let's say around the 2010s, the default position was for men to be just running through single life, enjoying single life. And if something came up that was good enough, then they would sort of get pulled into relationships. That was guys who had options. That was the default position. And actually, it would be quite rare that you would actually be, I would never really hear young guys ever saying that they wanted to have relationships. To be honest, I didn't hear anyone under the age of 30 really saying, I'm looking for a relationship as such. It's mostly guys in their 20s just wanted to shag. Probably the girls did as well. And then people get to their late 20s and they go, I want something different. And it just kind of happens naturally. Hey, this girl's good. We're good. She have a family. Cool. That's the next phase. Let's move along to the next generation. And so that was the pattern. It was just free and easy, single life in your 20s. I really honestly, most guys in their 20s in my generation, I'm a millennial, I'm 40. Mostly guys just want to be playboys of one description or another, have harems, etc. And I think things have changed a lot. I see now, for the most part, I see a lot of younger guys, early 20s, mid 20s, they're already looking for a relationship. And I wonder why that is. I wonder, what is the sociological aspect to that? Why is that? At a relatively young age, guys are looking to actually get settled into something. And I actually do think there are reasons for it. I think there's kind of tough economic times for a lot of people. And the resources of going out, spending money on dates and going out and about, spending time on dating women. I think most guys now, a lot of these younger guys, they would prefer to just have one person that they could put their time and energy into and then spend the rest of their resources on business and actually creating a good life for themselves or their career. So I think that is, I think that's a big shift. It might be that with online, maybe it's a sign of being slightly dispirited youth. That might also be a sign. It might also be that online dating has just left people just really bereft of, a lot of men just bereft. And they kind of like, they want something more authentic. We live in this synthetic, transient world now, and people want something deep and authentic. They crave it because there is no stability there in society anymore. So that's definitely something. As I say, it's a big change from people my age, millennials, people in their late 30s, early 40s. You will all remember the heydays. Obviously, there was guys who had girlfriends and so on, but most people were just wreckheads. Millennials were just wreckheads in general. The younger generation is more serious in a way. more neurotic, a lot more neurotic, unfortunately, but also more serious as well. So, each generation is subject to a different way it was raised. It was subject to different prevailing conditions, and so, yeah, that's what I see in this young generation, and then older guys as well. When you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, free agent lifestyle versus being a playboy versus relationship. I'm just going to talk very candidly in this live about the pros and cons of both sides. So first of all, well, let's start off with free agent lifestyle. The free agent lifestyle, you are single, ready to mingle, and you can go out and do whatever you want. So the benefits of free agent lifestyle. Well, the first benefit is if you're good enough, if you're attractive enough, and you've got some game and some logistics, um, you can have you can have some fun. You can have a few. You can have some escapades. You can have some different experiences, not just sexual, actually different experiences of being around different women, and that actually that actually comes in handy later on in relationships as well because you kind of understand the woman as you've been with several different women and or, you know whatever your number is, you've been with enough women, you see the patterns and you also see the differences as well. So it's a good learning curve and it's fun. And for a lot of I think for a lot of guys, if you're in a job where you're quite constrained and your life is quite constrained, this is certainly partly how I felt. My nature is to push against those constraints, and because you just can't do that in your work. I feel like I've always felt like I've led a double life, and so the semi rogue lifestyle. I wouldn't say I was a playboy. I'd say I was more of a rogue. That semi rogue lifestyle where you're out at night dancing salsa, meeting new women, in the clubs at the weekends. That was a counterpoint for me, for a job which is kind of like it's a good job. I've got some independence with it, or pretty decent independence actually, but um, it was a kind of counterpoint for me for all the intellectual stuff I'll be doing in the day. Nice to go out and be a rogue in the evenings. I think for guys who've got serious professional life, I can see that. I can see that. You want a bit of adventure at the weekend. You don't want everything to be structured. You've got to be structured for enough time in the day. So it's a bit of an outlet. The Playboy lifestyle, the free agent lifestyle, is actually a little bit of an outlet. So that's another benefit. Third benefit would be a lack of sense of things tying you down, a lack of sense of things tying you down. And even if you're not living with a girl, you can start to feel emotionally tied down by when you're in a relationship. A lot of guys start to feel responsible for the girl. I know I certainly do. You can feel a sense of guilt if you want to spend time away from her or if you want to leave her, basically. And so when you're free and single, you don't have that sense of responsibility, which it's not that you want to evade responsibility, but it's that you can be more responsible to yourself, and you can also you've got a little bit more agency. You've got a little bit more agency. So that's another benefit of the free agent lifestyle. And then lastly, things like travel and stuff like that. If you're traveling, especially if you want to have some experiences, you want to obviously be single. If you're hitting the road, so yeah, you don't want to. I got a friend out in Thailand who tells me about it. He sees like middle-aged guys come in with their wives, and he's just like, "What are you doing here with your wife? Leave your wife at home." Um, so yeah, if you live in the travel nomad lifestyle, it's cool to be single, and you can actually explore your options. One of the most pathetic things I see here in Santo Domingo, I see the Norwegian guys who, unfortunately, are extremely cocked these days. Extremely cocked. The Vikings were a long time ago, man. The Vikings were a long fucking time ago. But very, very cocked. And even Swedish girls that I've approached have been like, yeah, Swedish guys would never approach. They're too passive. So they're neutered. They're kind of like these beautified, neutered beings. And I see them out here on the Conde, where I live, being marched up and down by their girlfriends. And literally, the girl is like fully wearing the trousers, man. It's fucking embarrassing. I feel embarrassed as a man to even watch that. I kind of turn my head. And I just think, man, and just look at how, like, some of these girls, there's a lot of attractive Swedish girls. Some of these girls are Norwegians as well. These girls, I'm like, they're not even fucking attractive. And you're being marched up and down. Look at all these girls around, you know. So yeah, I was going to say there, the travel aspect. I'm like, man, like, just leave your girlfriend at home. Yeah, fucking come here on your own and have some adventures. And it's not that it's easy. It's not that it's easier here. It's not easier here. It's not that it's easier in place X, Y, Z. But at least you can breathe. At least you can explore your options. So that's another massive aspect of this, the free and easy single Playboy lifestyle. And you can put more into friendships as well. Um, so those would be some of the benefits. There's a tremendous flexibility to it. There's tremendous flexibility to it. Bowen, I'll get to your question in a minute, mate. On the other side, on the flip side to this, so let's look at the downsides. Some of the downsides. There's always pros and cons. You want to focus on the pros. Like, I've lived in, I'm 40. In the last 5 years, I've lived in at least 12 countries. I always count back. I somehow always end up losing count. So I've had a tremendous experience living in all these far-flung places. So that's a massive positive for me. That's stuff that I will take to my grave. Who the hell from Sheffield do I know who has lived in eastern Sarajevo? In the ultra-Orthodox Serb quarters of eastern Sarajevo? Zero people. No one. Who do I know from Sheffield who live in Salvador de Bahia? No one. You know, who do I know? Yeah, I mean, there's guys who've lived in different places. There are guys who've traveled that I know from back home and who are nomads. But I've definitely pushed the envelope, and I'm going to continue to push it further. But there has been, so there's great freedom in that, great exploration, great value in that, which I'll look back on. I know when I'm an old man, telling my old man stories when I'm in my 70s. I know that I will look back favorably on this period of my life. And I'd have loved to do this in my 20s. I'd have loved to do it in my early 30s, but I just couldn't figure it out until I got into my mid 30s, the way to actually make it happen. There is a downside to it, though. So, and the downside is it is hard to maintain relationships, like full-bodied relationships, difficult to maintain. So yeah, some of the negatives would be to the single life, the Playboy life. This is a negative that people don't discuss. There's negative that people don't discuss because I think most people they haven't really lived it, to be honest. The negative that people don't discuss is chaos. Chaos. That's the negative that people don't discuss. The Playboy lifestyle, meeting new women every day, meeting different women at the weekend, etc. There is a lot of chaos in that. There's a lot of unpredictability. There's incoming leads all the time. You're managing different girls, blah blah blah, trying to manage your time. It's very chaotic in comparison to the structure and organization of I see my main girl every Sunday. We do stuff on Sunday. I do the rest of my shit in the week. The Playboy lifestyle is more chaotic, without doubt, and that can be okay. Let's say if you're working a bank and you've got quite a tedious 9 to 5, that chaos is probably quite welcome in the evening. But if you're running a business and there's already an element of unpredictability, you're starting a business, that additional chaos in your life, it basically means your entire fucking life is chaos to some extent or another. So that's a downside that is not discussed. Order versus chaos. You want to have that nice balance between order, structure, and a little bit of chaos as well. You want it to be maybe 70-30, something like that. That's a good mix for me. You don't want it to be 100% order because then you're in prison. You don't want it to be 100% chaos because that's just fucking insanity. And this is one of Jordan Peterson talks about this. I know he's struggling at the moment. I know he also talks a lot of shit as well when it comes to relationships and women. He can't bring himself to really see women for some reason, the deep beta conditioning. But this a lot of his stuff is fantastic, and the order versus chaos idea, it's very applicable. It's very simple. It's very applicable. So that's a downside to the playboy lifestyle that I just don't see being discussed. It's like your head's spinning. If you're an intelligent thinking guy as well that needs to process, which I do, there are days when my head's like fucking spinning. Who am I talking to? Who is this girl? What am I? What was she like? Just um. So because it's not like the girl just turns up at your house and pulls her pants down. There's a process with each and every girl. Yeah. So there can be an element of chaos there. So yeah, the guys who seem to really enjoy the Playboy lifestyle the most, they've actually got very dull, predictable jobs. And that chaos at night and at weekends, that actually adds a spark into their life. But if you've got a full on business, which is very demanding, there's lots of open ended things you need to handle all the time, you are taking more chaos into your life when you start to live the Playboy lifestyle. Um, I can definitely, if I look back over my bank account, I can definitely see the times where I was living the life the most, correlating with should we say, not a positive effect on my income. Definitely, that's an absolute correlation. So that's something very important to remember, and it's also the value of relationships, which I'm going to come on to in a moment. So that would be a downside. Other downside is resources and money. Spending money and time on women. Those are your resources. Your time, your literally all you have in life is time, energy, and money. You don't have anything else. Those are your three fundamentals: time, energy, and money. And obviously your attitude as well. But in terms of resources, those are your fundamental resources. And if you're putting your time, your energy, and your money into dating all these different girls, it's it's a it's a draining it's a drain on your energy system and your resources. And so I had a time about, when was this? This would have been, I think I was 36 going on 37. I was 36 going on 37, so that's 4 years ago. And I came back to the UK I was living a slow playboy lifestyle out here in Dominican. That's my actual lifestyle. Bren, I'll come to your question in a minute. My actual lifestyle, I would say, since being 34, my lifestyle has been more like a kind of slow playboy. I don't identify as a playboy, but like a slow rogue lifestyle. That would be what I would say my lifestyle is, really. The playboy thing, the Hugh Hefner type of guy, that's just not me. It's not me. Um, the guy who's just smoking a cigar, he's the guy who's hosting the dinners that isn't really me. I'm not really the playboy type. I'm more the rogue type. Um, I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference. The girls I meet, it's like, let's go on a fucking adventure. Let's go here. Let's go. That's the rogue element. Um, the rogue seducer. That would be my archetype. But what was my point there? I've just sabotaged my own point. What was I talking about? The downsides to the playboy lifestyle. Ah, yeah, money. I was going to give an example of money. I remember coming back to the UK and I just discovered daytime approach. I discovered out here in Dominican, and I started to do just one or two approaches. In retrospect, man, those are some of my best approaches. When I had no fucking clue what I was doing, I was just throwing myself in, and just the intensity of going for what I wanted. I remember this big lanky black girl. Oh my god, she was fucking incredible. Um, she was out with her cousin, and I remember I was like, she looks like a basketball player. That was my open. I said, you look like a basketball player. Just chatted her up, got her number, and then And then she came out, and not she wasn't the most fun company. She was doing TikTok a lot. TikTok had just come out, but I remember just yeah, she came back to mine and stuff, and I was like, man, this chick is fucking Jesus Christ. She was like wiry, but like strong as fuck, dude. Like her strength was weird. Dude. This girl was some kind of fucking giant panther or something. And yeah, I was like, wow, this is really actually a thing. This is actually really effective. So I go back to the UK and I start actually hitting the daytime approach. I just do one approach a day whenever I went out. And I had a structure, very basic structure. Stop the girl, make a comment, get into a conversation, get the girl's logistics and close her. And that was it. And I always thought logistics were important. I'd heard someone talking about it online. I thought, yeah, that's actually important. Where is she from? Is she around for the next few weeks? Is the date possible? Set up the date with her, you know. And I started to go out hitting the daytime approach. And then I was also hitting nighttime as well when I went back to the UK for a couple of months. Dude, I spent so much fucking money that summer because I was taking girls on dates. I was taking them out to eat, blah, blah, blah. Just trying to live the life. But this is just after the pandemic, and man, I spent so much money. I couldn't believe how much money I spent, and I don't do anything that I don't do anything that crazy. But obviously, UK is more expensive than where I'm living, and I was like, fuck me, I'm spending a fortune just on dates. So you don't want to be burning through your cash on dates, man. You don't want to be doing it. It's not worth your fucking time. So I learned my lesson. That summer I definitely learned my lesson. So yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'm not spending money on girls I don't even fucking know. It's not like I'm not a guy who's taking them out for big slap up meals, but it's like if it's a second date and I'll go to this bar that I like and then we'll order some food and stuff like that. So that was the kind of thing really. Um, but yeah, definitely lesson learned there. So yeah, spending resources, that's a downside to the Playboy lifestyle. Is there anything else? Any other downsides to it? Obviously, things like family and children. You want a legacy at some point. You can argue that this type of lifestyle is distracting you from building that legacy. Are you doing it as a form of escapism? As I say, a lot of the guys who've got quite boring jobs, they do it as a form of, you could call it escapism or balancing themselves. Yeah, you could say that. Um, is there a risk another risk as well with this lifestyle is, are you going to miss a good opportunity? The good girls, when you're actually experienced, you realize they don't come around every day. So you've got abundance, you can always meet new girls. There are an infinite number of women. But that woman who's just your profile, she's the right look, she's the right age, she's the right psychographic. When you meet that woman, you know really fast. You know really, really, really fast. And for me, the girls I've approached in the last 3 years, daytime, every single one I've had something with that's gone beyond just like a conversation or even a date, I know pretty much instantly. And the ones where it's like it's something significant, and there's only been two of them. Of all the hundreds, no, actually thousands of approaches, there's only been two that have been significant where I've had a real spiritual, genetic connection to the girl. I knew within seconds, even as soon as we locked eyes, bang, straight away in both cases, and it was right. My instinct was right, and so if you're binning everything just to live the Playboy lifestyle, you might be missing a good opportunity. You might be missing a good opportunity for something more. Um, I don't want to say serious, but for something more valuable. I think we need to get away with some of the language from a serious relationship. I hear that and I think, fuck me, I've got to be serious all day. I've got to be serious now in my relationship as well. Like, can I just have, do I ever get to enjoy life? Right? I get up, I do X, Y, Z. Yeah. I go to the gym. Yeah. I'm with my serious girl now as well. It's like, okay, I'm serious all day. I'm serious. Do I ever get to enjoy life? So I think that word serious for me is actually it's got a negative connotation when it comes to relationships. I prefer like something like valuable, a more valuable relationship, more profound, a more pragmatic and practical relationship. You may miss that if you are just focusing on the Playboy lifestyle, and it can get empty as well. It can get empty. Most of the natural Playboys who were like playboys in their early 20s. I don't know if this thing even still exists because it's all gone online now. It's all weird now. I don't really understand it, but well, I do. I do understand the basic dynamic, but I don't understand how. Let's say if you're a guy in your 20s and you're dating a lot through Tinder, how is that fun? That's suppose what I'm saying there. How is that actually fun? So, but the guys from the previous epoch, which would be my epoch, and every other epoch before that, it would be within a social context. It would be the party scene, having fun, socializing, going out. And the guys in the early 20s who do that and have a lot of success with women, usually they peak out at about 25, 26. They hit massive numbers in the early 20s and they peak out. And then after that, they just eventually just end up in relationships in their late 20s and early 30s. Always. I've seen that all the guys who were like the peak guys in the early 20s, they all peter out. But it's because it's kind of like it's empty. It's empty for them. What's the point? Just carrying on. What's the point? It's empty. You've played the game, you won the game, go and play a new game now. And so that's the other aspect to it. It can become empty. That wasn't me in my early 20s. I was doing other things in my early 20s and even my mid 20s. And it was only my late 20s where 27 to 30, I literally 10x'd, literally within 3 years. I won't give the numbers, but the number I was on at 27 compared to 30 was more than 10 times larger by the time I got to my early, by the time I hit 30. As also when I got my hottest girlfriend as well, like around the same period. It was just this massive period of just explosion. So I needed to do that. I definitely needed to do that. I needed to have that experience. I do feel like it seasoned me a lot as a guy. It gave me that final aspect of my life. 30s then, ups and downs through the 30s, but I had good relationships. My best relationships have come in my 30s. I do answer questions, mate, but if you've got an issue, you can obviously just leave my channel, bro. Yeah, I don't mind. This is not a channel to gain popularity. This is a channel for me to get clients for coaching. So if you don't like the way I'm doing my life, you can leave, my friend. That's fine. It's mostly a monologue. And then I answer questions at the end. So what was I going to say there? Yeah, the value in relationships as time goes on, I think, increases. And as you get into your 40s and 50s, the guys who do it right in their 40s and 50s, I think they've handled the woman side of things and they can live, as I mentioned earlier, the slow playboy lifestyle. And that's what some guys I know from my mastermind in their 50s, that's kind of what they did. And eventually people tend to settle with something. So I'll just quickly go through the benefits of the relationship. Kind of already outlined them really, but I'll just quickly go through them. One is stability. If you're in business and you've got a lot of unstable shit happening, you're trying to stabilize that business, having a stable relationship is actually very beneficial to you. Number two, if the girl's good, which she should be, if she is well selected and she's got the correct mindset, she should be an asset to you. So you've got an asset there. That's number two. Number three, predictability. Stability is similar, but predictability, it's very valuable for me to know I've got a hot girl to have sex with every single Sunday. That's actually very valuable because whatever other bullshit I've got to deal with through the week, at least I know I've got that to look forward to, right? So stability is also good. The potential, obviously, for family and developing that aspect of your life, offspring, right? The next stage. So that's those are some of the main benefits. Emotional nourishment as well. We're men. We need emotional nourishment as much as women do. Maybe, well, different type of emotional nourishment. Someone is a witness to your life. Someone is a witness to your journey. That's very important. It's one of the things that can be lacking as a nomad, is where when you're completely solo and this is the value of these groups as well as if you've got no one to witness your journey, it just seems very strange. It just seems very like As I said, I've been on the road for 5 years. I've always had girlfriends and friends I check in with. There's a mastermind I check in with. It's nice just to have a few different factions witnessing my journey, because otherwise I would just be like a dislocated entity going through the world. And a relationship is a witness for your journey, and you have a shared history. People say just look forward. I hear these entrepreneurs just saying, just think about the future, just look forward. I understand that, but the story that you build with the girl over the years is very valuable, and it's a comforting thing to refer back to. You refer back to with the girl. So the the witness to your life, the emotional nourishment, these are massive benefits to relationships. Um, the downside to relationship probably would be increased responsibilities, sexual exclusivity, if that's something that frustrates you. Let's just be real, there's guys who are frustrated by that. I have always been one of them, less so now, but historically I always found it very constraining. I felt like a fucking tiger in a cage, you know. Um, so it is what it is. That you can judge that. I've tried judging myself on that. Just it is what it is. Right? It is what it is. So sexual constraint. Other negatives can be relationship drift. If the relationship goes badly because you don't know how to manage it. I do put most of it on the guy to manage, to be honest. Mostly. Um, Relationship drift. If you're not managing it properly, then yeah, that can happen as well. That's not good. And then there are other things as well, obviously, like let's unforeseen things that can happen as well. So a woman can obviously be a destabilizing force in your life. Yeah, that needs to go immediately. That needs to go immediately, because if you're gonna have lack of stability, you may as well be a playboy, right? If you're going to have a woman in your life bringing you instability, that needs to go immediately. That needs to be priority number one. Cut that girl now. Get rid of her right now. That should not even be a. It shouldn't even be a consideration, because it's like you're making some of the sacrifices for a relationship, and the benefits you're getting aren't even there. It doesn't make any sense, right? Um, the last thing I'll say as well, it's easier to manage a relationship than to manage the playboy lifestyle. It's hard. Biggie Smalls said it, pimping ain't easy, but it sure is fun. Yeah, it's actually not easy. Okay, it actually takes a lot more to get consistent. I was out yesterday, and I've been out every day this week, and I was like, there's girls everywhere. I just can't be arsed today. I don't have the energy today. So it's more energy. Every time you go out, it's energetic output. So it's easier to manage a relationship, much easier. And that's actually where like the real masculine, feminine polarity comes in. The sex gets better as well. So there's a lot of benefits to relationships. And especially with good girls as well. It kind of depends on the girl. I'm going to get to the questions very shortly now. So there's a cultural aspect to this as well. I found when I started to date Latinas in my early mid 30s, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually dating a woman. There's a half Jamaican girl that I dated in my late 20s who she was very womanly, to be honest. But still, there's still things in her psyche that are a little bit poisoned by the West. But she was by far the best I'd had in the West by miles. And I realized when I started to date Latinas, Middle Eastern girls, I was like, oh my God, an actual woman. How amazing is this? And it just I really honestly felt like I was 35 years old. I'm like, how the fuck is this the first time in my life I've ever even met a woman? I felt like it was the first time I'd even had relationships. So I'm like, I'm 35, but I'm like, what have I even been doing for the last 20 years? Who are these people I've been spending my time with? And I moved on to these like Latinas. I'm like, I had one or two interludes with some girls, but yeah, it just made me rethink everything on a cultural level. And that's why if you watch some of my videos, I'm quite hardline with some of the stuff I say, but it comes from experience. Um, so, so the last few years I've had more valuable relationships because there's been a cultural aspect that's also been there as well. So I will get to the questions now. So Mahid, can I elaborate on how I built the remote lifestyle? You could use some inspiration. What do you do, mate? What do you do? Whatever you do it online. There's your inspiration. Whatever your profession is, do it online. This is not a channel for that, but there's many ways you can work online now. It's In 2025, 26, you can work online. Yeah. You can do well online as well. But you can definitely get a remote job. If you're in Canada, you can definitely get a remote job, mate. Um, or you can build a remote business. That's harder, but you've got more freedom if you do that. This is not the channel for me to discuss that though, because it's just there's too much to that. What age should you stop living the prey lifestyle? Start a serious relationship monogamously with one woman. Um, well, I've already done it in phases. So I had a. It's not like a permanent thing. So there was a girlfriend I had about 6 months into learning daytime approach from 37 until 40, who I've been with the whole time, and had little breaks here and there, but I was effectively living by choice monogamy because I was actually interested. My options started to get really broad at about the 6 or 7 months into daytime approach. And I've got a business, and for this chaos reason, I thought if I start going out with all these girls now, I'm not 27 anymore. Like, I need to be on it with my business. And so I basically said, right, I'm going to stick to this one girl. I made a commitment primarily to myself, not even so much to the girl. But I still continue to approach. So I was battering the cold approach whilst I was in a relationship. And that's a very interesting way to live. I would highly recommend that. So I would say, yeah, the late 30s is when I started to think more along these lines. In terms of long term, I broke up with that girl recently. So at the moment, I'm just kind of in a new phase. I don't know what direction I'm going to go in next. We'll see. Balthus, best friends, dated a New York supermodel, was a weed dealer, is now a father, married with a 7 or 8 year old girl. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these guys, a lot of these low lives do quite well when they're young. It's cool to be a low life weed dealer when you're 21. Yeah. The girls get excited by it. I remember dating girls who were like, as one girl in particular who was like, there is definitely this thing where women are drawn to destruction and destructive people. That is a very real thing. I'd actually say it's their biggest weakness, character flaw, is that's pretty almost universal. Not totally, but it's very, very common. And so I actually started to lean into that more because I was like the goody two shoes guy. I started to lean into that side more at a certain point, my late 20s. So it doesn't surprise me what you said about your friend there. Um, Mahid, are older women attracted to different things? No, not. I mean, yeah, maybe not like the drug dealer types. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But they're often still there's still that female psyche there. Um, you know, the dangerous guy is always going to hold some attraction. The dangerous guy is always going to hold some attraction for girls, for sure, no matter their age. Um, I sometimes have to, yeah, there is actually a difference. The very young girls, like the 18 to 22, they're really like they love the dark triad characteristics. They fucking love that. They love all of that emotional bullshit. Um, as they get older, it's not quite the same. It's not quite the same. I think they've probably been burned a little bit by that point. But even the way you dress and stuff like that, like for me, the way I'm dressed now, like going out in a vest and this is more towards the younger crowd, the way I'm dressed now. Um, the Yeah, like a 35-year-old, a hot 35-year-old, or whatever. I'm not really dressed for that market. Yeah, it's a good point though. It's a good point. Is there a difference to what they're attracted to? Yeah, there is a slight difference. Um, I don't really think too much about what they're attracted to, though. I just do my thing mostly, and I know I've got a good enough offer that I will get takers. So that's mostly what I focus on. Balthus, very streetwise, charismatic, and smart. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that is the profile of the drug dealer. That's the profile of older women, more unforgiving. Interesting. Yeah, probably. Honestly, dude, you know me, you winged with me. I'm not approaching anyone. I don't. I mean, I occasionally approach women over 30 by accident, but I've just got no interest. I actually found myself getting on really well with older women in the approaches and stuff. Like, cool, I get on well with them, but Let me just look up the statistics right now. So, uh, so women under 30 have an 85% chance of conceiving within a year. Over 30, it decreases. Um, the biggest acceleration is after 35. After 35, unfortunately, they are basically it does fall off a cliff. There's a lot of because of the egalitarian bullshit that we are subjected to in this modern society, all over the internet, all over all of these platforms. It's all almost everything is a psyop because it's all Silicon Valley. They're all woke, liberal geeks in Silicon Valley. They don't like human nature really. They don't like biology. They're blank slate people. So even as I'm looking up now, I see all these things like, oh, is it a myth that women's fertility declines after 35? And it's like, uh, it's not a myth. I've actually dated a pediatric doctor, not a nurse, a pediatric doctor. She was 28, one of the best women I've ever dated. She was amazing. And if I'd not been just about to start a club promotion at 31 years old, I would have settled with her. She was fucking fantastic. And my life would be totally different. But I just got the keys to the kingdom. This club owner basically gave me a promotion. I negotiated with him. So I got my promotion. I was like, I know where the next few years is heading. So I broke up with her because I was like, you don't want to be around what I'm going to be doing in the next few years in my free time. But we talked about it, and she was like, yeah, every single woman who comes to us, all of them are over 35. We don't get women practically in their 20s. 20 something woman, it's very rare they have issues. Over 35, that's where the issues come. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So I found as I've got older as a man, like maybe it's that instinctive baby making genes comes in. I'm no longer learning about women. I'm not really learning the game, so to speak. Not really. It's just I'm tweaking things, but the fundamentals I already know. So the experiences now is not. It's more like the youth and beauty of the woman is just what I'm just biologically drawn to, and that is mostly between 18 to 30, and actually mostly between about 18 and 27. Um, yeah, it just is what it is. So, so yeah, interesting. Older women being more unforgiving. Yeah, interesting point. Um, there's another thing as well. I'd say is this is something. There's a channel called Ronin Man. I would highly recommend checking that guy's channel out. He is one of the manosphere goats. He's very underground, and he doesn't show his face. He's someone actually is worth listening to. Not on everything. He's a bit too much down the red pill. He's been burnt a little bit by himself with the divorce courts, but he's lived out in Asia. He's legitimately banged like hundreds of chicks. He's got all. You know when you listen to a channel and you go, "Yeah, this guy knows this. This is exactly the type of stuff I've experienced, and this guy knows what he's talking about because he's done it." That's Running Man, and he did a video not too long ago about how a woman only loves one guy in her life. And there's this thing called the alpha widow, as they call it in the red pill. And I don't know if it's completely 100% rule, but I think there's a lot to that. I think there's a lot to that. I think I think so. Yeah. So a woman by her mid 30s, she's already fallen in love. She's already fallen in love with someone else. So that hardness she's got, it's like her heart has already been broken, most likely, and she's already whoever penetrated right to the fucking center of her of her brain, her pituitary gland, through her limbic system, through her cortex, penetrated that deeply inside her psyche. That's already happened. And so women become a lot more mercantile as they cross 30. I mean, I've fucking seen this hilarious things I see in my own family. Um, so but there's always a guy somewhere in the early to mid 20s that they fall in love with, and that's the benefit. That's also the aspect of that's why virgins are valuable. or girls with not much experience. It's not even the fact they're a virgin. They don't need to be a virgin. It's like you actually want a girl who is a love virgin. If she's not been in love before and you're the first love, she is yours forever. You're burning yourself into her psyche forever, and you can never be replaced. It's a different point of leverage. Yeah. And I don't mind saying I want leverage in a relationship. I don't, not, not in this weird abusive way, but just like, I want to know that there's something very, very deep there that she can't disregard me. If I'm going to invest in her, I can't just be disregarded. And if you're the girl's first love, truly, um, then yeah, you just can't be replaced. You can't be replaced. So women in their 30s, they've obviously already had that. 40s and 50s, I don't know. I've dated one 40-year-old, and it was the worst experience of my entire life. I could not believe what I was seeing. I'm 40 now, so if I take my shirt off, I look good. And I was like, man, girls after 40, fuck me, dude. She looked fairly good in clothes, but I was like, I went from a 21-year-old to a 40-year-old. I was like, man, never again, dude, never again. So yeah, don't know what I'm going to do when I'm like 70, but I'll figure that out when I get there. Probably have a family and stuff by that point, so I won't really care. So yeah, this is what my lives are like. I kind of just come on and just talk shop. Yesterday was a very structured one. Today was just more of a chat about the benefits and costs of relationships, benefits and costs of free agent lifestyle. Yeah, Balthus, you're in the early 30 phase, so you're in that destructive phase. Um, yeah, I'd get cancelled in Canada. It's interesting. You mentioned the cancellation thing. So the purpose of this channel is to bring guys out of the woodwork who are interested in kickstarting their personal life, potentially, well, through cold approach as a driving process of that, but also potentially with a view to traveling as well. And just a couple of the recent testimonials I've had from guys who've come out to Belgrade with me and traveled as well, and they've really appreciated the new lease on life that both travel and cold approach actually bring. When you've got both of those things together, it really gives you a new lease on life. And so I'm looking at the marketing side of things, like how can we spread this to guys, man? Because I mean, this is something I want to do. I want to take further, and I know the market's there because once these guys get a taste of it, they're planning to go back to Eastern Europe. They're having a great time. But I'm looking at, right, where do I market? YouTube is okay. It's going to be a slow process to build those views up. I'm looking at LinkedIn, going, right, that is where the frustrated executives are. That's where they are. But how the fuck am I going to market myself on LinkedIn? Where like I wouldn't be able to, yeah, I would be cancelled into oblivion on LinkedIn, right? With all the fucking feminazis. It would just be, I can already predict it. Like, yeah, so I don't know what I'd have to do there. I asked ChatGPT and it offered to rewrite all of my posts in more correct language or politically correct. But, you know, I don't think I'm very extreme. I really don't. I think I base everything I say, I base on my true life experiences and then a little bit of evolutionary psychology and biology based in there as well, because it's stuff I'm interested in. But I think it's obviously we're the human ape. We are biological entities. We're Homo sapiens. We were evolved hundreds of thousands of years ago, long before fucking wokeism ever came along. So, yeah, I'll probably get fucking cancelled in Canada. Just before I finish, I approached two Canadian girls, women, older women, actually 40 something. They were actually legitimately very attractive, like for their age, fucking spectacular in Belgrade. And they loved that I cold approached them. They absolutely loved it. They even said to me, like, yeah, one of their comments was, well, obviously, like, a lot, it's so hot you approached us. Like, women, we love like, we love a proactive, like pushy, bold guys. And then her friend goes, well, that's just women everywhere, And this information has been hidden from men. It's just such a fucking shame. So it's going to take people like myself and Balthus to get out there, start headbutting our way through this. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah. So I can, the reason I have to talk like this is because I feel that if I try to sugarcoat it, I actually go in the other direction. I almost make it offensive because that kind of is jarring enough for somebody to go, wait, what the fuck is he? What's he saying? Did he just say that? That's my thinking with it. It needs to almost be offensive for someone to get the message. Whereas if I start to go down the minding my P's and Q's within the context of relationships and intersexual dynamics, I think the message is just going to get lost. So I don't know about LinkedIn. I want to get myself in there in one respect, because I know there's like shitloads of clients in there and shitloads of guys who would just like, they would low key be fucking thrilled to hear some of this information coming through from a guy who's also understands the professional world as well. But yeah, would I get cancelled? Would I get fucking featured? Would I get featured in the New York Times of fucking a new breed of toxic masculine dating coach? I don't fucking know. But I don't believe in that toxic masculinity stuff. I don't at all. Balthus knows it. I believe a lot in genuinely being protective of women, and you know, making sure that both men and women having their interests taken care of in the correct way, which I believe comes from this model that I discuss on the channel. So, boys, I've literally got to start work. I've got to chains. I'm going to take my chain off right now. And the wing bro's got to go away and back into the locker. And I'll be going back into my other profession right now. So thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for commenting. And I will catch you boys again if you want to tune in tomorrow. I've got 2 more lives before the end of the year. Every single day this month we're coming in. Good to catch you, boys. I'll catch you in the next one.